My story begins in a small kitchen where the morning sunlight had just begun to stretch across the wall. The low hum of the coffee maker filled the room, and I was lost in my usual breakfast routine, a routine I never imagined I would someday handle alone. On the dining table sat a school bag, half open, with my son Ari's bent over it, scribbling fast to finish his homework. There was a spark in his eyes that always reminded me I wasn't alone. "Mom, I need chart paper for my science project," he said softly, almost like he didn't want to disturb me, almost like he sensed my mood. And honestly, my mood was strange today. That heavy weight, the same weight that had sat on my chest for the last 3 months, was back. I smiled and said gently, "Don't worry. We'll get it after school." Our eyes stood up and held my hand. He's only 9 years old, but sometimes he feels wiser than his age. Maybe because life forced him to grow too soon. The day his father left was a slap for both of us. Felt pain. He felt confusion. And the confusion came with its own cruelty. "Mom, why did Dad do that? Who is the woman he left us for?" That day I lied to him. I told him, "Adults make mistakes sometimes, sweetheart." But the truth was uglier than any lie I could tell. My husband, Raheel, had been cheating for months, with a woman named Hiba. I didn't find out through suspicion. I found out because she texted me herself. Her message, sharp enough to cut through bone. "You're too boring for him. He deserves excitement." And the one line that burned into my memory, "At least I'm not a snooze like you." That day, something inside me shattered. My marriage, yes, but also a piece of my self-worth. But one thing didn't break. One thing survived. My son. From that day on, my life divided into 2 halves. One where Raheel pretended to be loyal, and another where it was just me, our eyes, and a silence we both understood too well. After breakfast, I drove our eyes to school. He hummed his favorite cartoon theme song, swinging his legs, full of energy. And for a moment I felt that maybe life could still be soft, even after someone breaks you. At the school gate he hugged me tightly. "Mom, please don't be sad today. Okay? Smiling looks good on you." His words stitched together a tiny piece of my cracked heart. I smiled, truly smiled after weeks. "All right, sweetheart. I'll smile just for you." He ran inside. But the second I turned the car back toward home, my phone buzzed. A name flashed on the screen. Raheel. My fingers trembled as I opened the message. "I want to meet today. It's important." My heart hammered in my chest. For 3 months, he had only talked to me through lawyers and dry messages about paperwork. Why suddenly meet? After reaching home, I sat on the sofa for a long time, thinking, debating. By evening he sent a location, a coffee shop. Not just any coffee shop. The one where we used to sit before we got married. When I walked in, he was already there. But he wasn't the Raheel I once knew. This man looked exhausted, drained, guilty. Almost ashamed. "I need to talk to you," he said. I folded my arms. "Is this another excuse to justify what you've done?" He sighed, the sound tired and heavy. "No. I want to say I'm sorry." Time froze. Sorry. After destroying our family. After cheating, lying, humiliating me. "Raheel, you didn't just hurt me. You hurt our eyes." He wonders every night if he made a mistake. Pain flickered across his face. "I know. And that's why I want to meet him. Miss him. He's my son. I can't stay away." Anger and concern battled inside my chest. "I made a terrible mistake," he whispered. "But I don't want to lose my son." "And what about her?" asked sharply. "What about Hiba?" He closed his eyes. "She's not in my life anymore." I set my cup down, the sound sharp. "And what does that change? You called me boring, lifeless, snooze. You let someone else belittle your own wife." Raheel looked down at the table. I was angry, proud, stupid. I believed everything I wanted to believe to escape responsibility. At that moment, a family walked into the cafe, a couple with 2 little kids. The kids laughed, tugging each other, their joy filling the space like sunlight. Seeing them made something twist inside my chest, grief mixed with longing. Raheel spoke slowly. I want to see our eyes today, please. I need to think, I replied firmly. I wasn't going to rush this. Not for him. When I returned home, night had already settled. I made dinner for our eyes, but my mind kept circling Raheel's words like a storm. Our eyes sat quiet, pushing rice around with his spoon. Mom, he said softly. Yes, sweetheart. Today Aban's dad came to pick him up from school. He took pictures with him too. It looked nice. He paused. Mom, I suddenly missed Dad. His words struck me like a blade. I placed my hand on his shoulder. Your dad loves you. It wasn't a lie. But his father had failed miserably at showing it. Mom, if Dad ever wants to meet us, will you stop him? His voice was trembling with fear. In that moment a truth hit me hard. If I built walls between him and his father because of my wounds, I would end up wounding him too. I would break my son the way Raheel broke me. No, sweetheart, I whispered. If you want to see your dad, he can meet you. Hope lit up his eyes like sunrise. But inside me a war raged. A mother's war. A betrayed woman's war. A war for a future in which my son deserved a father, even if that father had failed us both. That night I couldn't sleep. My heart was torn in too many directions. But one thing became painfully clear. Aroiz isn't a snooze like his cheating parent. He's lively, bright, warm, brave. He is everything his father wasn't. Everything his father should have been. This wasn't just a story about betrayal anymore. This was becoming a story about revenge, dignity, motherhood, and rebuilding self-worth. And this was only the beginning. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. My eyes were heavy, the kind of heaviness that comes from thinking too much rather than sleeping too little. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Quiet in a way that reminds you life isn't the same anymore. I walked toward Aroiz's room and found him sitting cross-legged on his bed, tying his shoelaces with a concentration that felt almost grown-up. He looked up when he heard me. Good morning, Mom. His smile was bright, unburdened, completely unaware of the emotional chaos that lived behind my eyelids. Good morning, sweetheart. Ready for school? He nodded quickly. Are we going to meet Dad today? My heart skipped. The question had been inevitable, but hearing it out loud hit differently. I'm still thinking about it, I said gently. But yes, maybe. He didn't say anything, just hugged me. Tight, hopeful hug. I dropped him off at school, but instead of going home, I parked the car in the empty lot across the road and sat quietly. A part of me wanted to just drive far away, to escape the mess Raheel left behind. Another part whispered that Aroiz deserved a chance. Kids don't ask to be caught between broken adults. And somewhere deep inside, a colder, harder voice said, let him come. Let him try. Let him see what he lost. By mid-afternoon I dialed Raheel. He picked up immediately, as if he'd been staring at the phone waiting for it to ring. Hello. We'll meet, I said. But only for an hour. And only somewhere public. Relief flooded his exhale. Thank you. Really. Don't thank me, I cut him off. This is for our eyes. Not you. He understood. Or at least pretended to. Our eyes practically glowed when I told him after school. He slipped his small hand into mine, squeezing it tight. Mom. What if he doesn't like me anymore? I stopped walking. Sweetheart, your dad loves you. And I will never let you think otherwise. But he left. Those words were too heavy to fall from the lips of a 9-year-old. Yes, I whispered. But he didn't leave you. He left the marriage. There's a difference. Our eyes didn't fully understand. How could he? But he nodded, trusting me more than he trusted the world. We headed to the park where Raheel asked to meet. A wide, open place filled with kids, trees, and parents chasing toddlers. We walked toward the fountain. And there he was. Raheel stood awkwardly with his hands in his pockets, as if unsure whether he deserved to be visible in the daylight. Our eyes froze. For a second he didn't breathe. Then he broke into a run. "Dad!" Raheel bent down, arms wide open, and caught him in a tight embrace. My throat tightened. Hurt. But in a strange, unexpected way it also felt right. Because this moment wasn't about me. "Hey champ," Raheel said, voice trembling a little. "I missed you." "You didn't call," our eyes blurted out. "You didn't even video chat." Raheel's expression cracked. "I know. Sorry. I should have. I really should have." I watched them from a few feet away, arms crossed, guarding my heart like a fortress. Raheel glanced at me, searching for permission to approach. I didn't move. I didn't nod. I didn't smile. He got the message. They sat on a bench. I stood nearby, close enough to hear, far enough to be distant. "Dad," our eyes said, "why were you gone so long?" Raheel looked at me again, silently asking how much truth he was allowed to tell. I stepped closer and said, "If you speak to him, speak honestly. But gently." Raheel nodded. "Champ, I made some mistakes, really big mistakes, and I didn't know how to fix them." Our eyes frowned. "You mean you were mad at Mom?" Raheel hesitated. "No, I was mad at myself." Our eyes processed that slowly, then asked something I wasn't prepared for. "Dad, are you going to come back home now?" The world stilled. Raheel looked stunned. But not because he didn't expect the question. He looked stunned because he didn't have an answer he could give without hurting someone. "I don't know," he said quietly. ROI's shoulders slumped. I stepped in immediately. "Sweetheart, Dad is taking time to fix things. And right now Mom and Dad just need space." ROI's didn't argue. He simply leaned into Raheel's side, resting his head on his father's arm. I hated that sight. I loved that sight. Tore me apart. But it wasn't the only thing tearing at me. Just when I thought the meeting couldn't get more tense, I heard someone behind me. "Well, isn't this cozy?" My stomach dropped. Hiba, course. She stood there in tight jeans, flawless makeup, holding a handbag that probably cost more than my monthly groceries. I hadn't seen her since the messages. Since she took pleasure in telling me I wasn't exciting enough. Since she took pleasure in taking what was mine. Raheel's face turned white. "Hiba, what are you doing here?" She crossed her arms, pretending confidence. "Oh, relax. It's a public park. Came for a walk. I didn't know I would see your little family reunion." Our eyes stared at her, confused. "Dad, who is she?" My stomach twisted again. Raheel stuttered. She's just someone I used to know." Hiba smirked, tilting her head. "Someone. Sweetie, we were a little more than that." "Stop," I snapped, stepping in front of our eyes. "You don't speak like that in front of a child." "Oh please," Hiba said, rolling her eyes. "The kid needs to grow up sometime." In that moment something inside me erupted. Not pain, not jealousy, but fire. "You don't get to speak here," I said sharply. "You don't get to stand here or pretend you belong here after what you did." She laughed. "What I did? Honey," Raheel came to me. "I didn't steal anything." Raheel flinched. Our eyes looked between us, frightened. The fire in my chest turned into steel. "You may have taken my husband," I said, voice steady. "But here's one thing you'll never have. My son's love, my dignity, or the life you tried to ruin." Hiba scoffed. "Oh please. You're the one who called me a snooze, right?" I stepped closer. "Well, guess what? Even if I was, at least I wasn't a home-wrecking hobby you used to pass time." Her smirk finally cracked. Raheel stood up, voice firm. "Hiba, leave. This isn't your place." Our eyes clung to my hand, trembling. Hiba glared at Raheel. "So that's it. You're running back to your boring wife and kid." "I'm trying to fix my mess," he said, jaw tight. She scoffed, threw her hair back and walked away. But not before muttering loudly, "You'll regret going back to your snooze fest." I turned toward her retreating figure and said loudly enough for her to hear. My kid isn't a snooze like their cheating parent. She paused, her back stiffening, then walked away faster. Our eyes looked up at me. Mom, what does snooze mean? I smiled softly. It means someone who has no spark. Someone dull. Then why did she call you that? I knelt down and held his face. Because sometimes people say hurtful things when they're jealous or insecure. Our eyes processed that, then nodded. Mom, he whispered, you're not dull. You're my superhero. And for the first time in months, I believed it. That night felt heavier than any night before. The meeting, the tension, Hiba's sudden appearance. It all replayed in my mind like a movie that refused to end. After dinner, our eyes went to his room earlier than usual. He didn't slam the door or complain. He didn't ask for his cartoons. He simply said, Mom, I'm a little tired, and walked away quietly. That scared me more than anything Hiba said. I waited 10 minutes, then followed him. When I pushed the door open, I found him sitting at the edge of his bed. His little shoulders hunched, hugging his pillow tightly. Sweetheart, I whispered. He didn't look up. Mom, why was that lady angry? My chest tightened. She wasn't angry at you, I said softly, sitting beside him. She was angry at the situation. He picked at the corner of the pillow. Was she the person Dad left us for? The directness of his question stunned me. Children see more than adults think. I breathed deeply. I couldn't lie anymore. Not when the truth was already sitting in his heart. Yes, I said quietly. She was. R.I.'s eyes filled with tears he tried hard to hide. But why would Dad like someone like her? She didn't even seem kind. His innocent honesty broke me. People make mistakes, I said gently. Sometimes grown-ups choose wrong things because they're confused or unhappy. He swallowed hard. Mom, am I the reason Dad left? My heart stopped. I grabbed his hands firmly. No, absolutely not. Your dad's choices were never your fault. Never. He looked at me with trembling eyes. But she said kids need to grow up. Like I did something wrong. I closed my eyes for a moment, forcing down the anger. Hiba said that because she's immature, not because you're wrong, I explained. You didn't do anything. You just existed. And loving your dad isn't a mistake. Our eyes leaned into me, resting his head on my shoulder. Mom, I don't want to lose you like I lost Dad. Tears stung my eyes instantly. I pulled him tightly into my arms. You will never lose me. I'm not going anywhere. Not today. Not ever. We sat like that for a long time. Him wrapped in my arms. Me holding him like the only treasure I had left. The next day I told Raheel what happened. He came over in the evening, looking guilty, tired and frustrated. I didn't know she would show up, he said. I swear. Raheel, that's not the point, I replied sharply. Your son was frightened. He asked me if he lost you. Raheel flinched as if I'd slapped him. I want to fix this, he whispered. I want to make things right. Do you even know how? Yes. He ran a hand through his hair. Let me try. Let me be a father again. I studied his face. The regret, the fear, the desperation. And a part of me, a small bitter part, wanted to say, now you want to fix it. After destroying everything. But another part, the mother part, knew that if he truly wanted to try, ROI should have that chance. You can visit him, I said finally. Once a week. Here. No surprise visits. No showing up with drama attached. Raheel nodded quickly. Whatever you say. And Raheel. He looked at me. If Hiba comes near my son again, just once, I will file for full custody and you'll see him only through court permission. He swallowed hard. She won't come anywhere near him. I'll make sure. I didn't trust his words completely. But I trusted myself enough to protect my child. The next few weeks were strange. Raheel came every Saturday afternoon. Sometimes he brought a board game. Sometimes ice cream. Sometimes nothing but guilt in his eyes. Our eyes warmed up slowly. Not the way he used to, but enough to talk, laugh a little, and show him his school projects. One Saturday, our eyes was showing Raheel how he built a mini volcano for science. It explodes like this, boom, he said, hands flying in the air. Raheel laughed softly, watching him. You're brilliant, champ. Our eyes beamed, but I noticed something. His smile had changed. It wasn't carefree anymore. It had a layer of nervousness beneath it. Like he was afraid the happiness could vanish any moment. After Raheel left that evening, our eyes sat on the couch, twisting the corner of his shirt. What's wrong? He asked. Mom, he said slowly. Is Dad going to disappear again? The fear in his voice was cold, raw, painful. No, I said firmly. He's trying to be better. Our eyes bit his lip. I'm scared if I get too happy, he'll leave again. And that was the moment. The moment I realized the real damage wasn't done by betrayal. It was done by instability. Children don't break because adults fight. Children break because adults leave. That night, after putting our eyes to sleep, I sat alone at the dining table. The quiet house pressed down on me. Raheel's effort wasn't enough. Our eyes needed stability, not uncertainty. He needed a plan, structure, security, and maybe, just maybe, I needed something too. I needed to rebuild the confidence that Raheel and Hiba had tried so hard to break. I needed to prove that I wasn't boring. Not to them, but to myself. So the next morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I dressed up for me. Not for Raheel. Not for society. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I wore a clean white shirt, blue jeans, tied my hair neatly, and put on a little eyeliner. When I walked into the living room, our eyes looked up and his face lit. Mom, you look different. In a good way. Tease. In the best way, he said. Later that week, I signed up for a part-time job at a local design studio. I needed independence. I needed identity. And it turned out, I was good. Really good. The manager, Sarah, looked at my work and said, You've got talent. Why weren't you doing this earlier? I didn't tell her that a certain someone used to call my hobbies time wasting. Or that I spent years making myself smaller so he could feel bigger. Instead, I smiled and said, Life kept me busy. Within 2 weeks, I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. Our eyes noticed it too. He started smiling more, laughing more, sleeping better. He was healing. We both were. But healing has a strange way of drawing attention. Especially from someone who once took you for granted. Raheel began showing signs of something. Awkward pauses. Lingering glances. Longer conversations at the door. And one Saturday, as he was leaving after the weekly visit, he stopped at the door. Can we talk? He asked softly. Froze. His eyes weren't the eyes of a cheating man anymore. They were the eyes of someone realizing exactly what he had lost. But before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A message flashed on the screen. Unknown number. You really think you can win him back? Cute. My blood ran cold. I didn't need to guess. It was Hiba. Raheel saw my expression and asked, Who is it? I looked up at him, feeling fire rise inside me again. It's a reminder, I said quietly, that some people don't know how to let go. Little did I know. Part 4 would show me just how far Hiba was willing to go. And how strong I would have to become to protect my son from the storm that was coming. I'd always believed that the truth had a strange way of leaking out, even through the tightest cracks, even through the thickest lies. But nothing could have prepared me for how violently the truth about Chris would explode into our lives. For months, I had held on to resentment like a shield. I had worn betrayal like an invisible bruise. I had convinced myself that Chris's cheating deserved the ending he got, that my kid and I were better off without a liar who treated commitment like a disposable tissue. What I didn't expect was that the truth wasn't done unfolding, not even close. After Mia's outburst at the talent show, A moment that went viral, exploded online, and nearly shattered Chris's polished public image. Life became complicated. Very complicated. The video of her shouting, "My kid isn't a snooze like their cheating parent," spread with wildfire speed. People laughed, mocked, supported. Everyone had an opinion. And opinions on the internet are bullets. Fast, sharp, and impossible to dodge. Chris had been furious. His mistress had been humiliated. And my mother-in-law, Grace, had been mortified beyond belief. But strangely, I wasn't sorry. For the first time, someone had said the thing I had been choking on for years. And that someone was my daughter. But there was still one thing I refused to let happen. I would not let Mia become a weapon in anyone's war. Not mine, not Chris's, not Grace's. So I grounded her, not in anger but in guidance, and spent the next week focusing on school, structure, and deeper conversations. But the world outside never stopped rattling. By the next Monday, everything reached a breaking point. The knock at the door. I was chopping vegetables for dinner when I heard the knock. Sharp, heavy, urgent. When I opened the door, I froze. It was Grace. Her hair was unbrushed, her eyes red, her breathing uneven. She looked like someone who had gone through a storm and lost. "Can I come in?" she asked, voice shaking. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed no. But before I could speak, Mia peeked from behind me and whispered, "It's okay, Mom." Something in her eyes, mature, calm, forgiving, made me step aside. Grace entered slowly, as if walking into a courtroom where she was the defendant. "I owe you both an apology," she said, clasping her trembling hands together. "A very big one." My eyebrows shot up. Grace apologizing. That alone was a universe-breaking event. She swallowed hard. "I failed you. Both of you. And I failed Chris too, in ways I never admitted." The room fell silent. Her voice cracked. "I raised him to believe he never had to face consequences, that he was too special, too talented, too precious to be held accountable for anything." I stared at her, stunned. He learned entitlement from me. He learned avoidance from me. He learned to hide mistakes instead of fixing them. Because I taught him he didn't have to. She finally met my eyes. His cheating wasn't just his fault. It was mine too. I hadn't expected regret, or accountability, or truth. But Grace was unraveling decades of silence in front of us. "I blamed you," she continued. "I said you weren't supportive enough, weren't affectionate enough, weren't understanding enough. But the truth is, you gave him more love than he ever deserved." Mia stepped forward, cautious. "Why are you telling us this now?" Grace's voice broke entirely. "Because Chris's career is collapsing. His agency dropped him today. His sponsor terminated his contract. That video, your video, Mia, made the public dig into his past. More stories of his affairs have surfaced. He can't outrun it anymore." Mia's breath hitched. "So he's ruined." Grace shook her head miserably. "Not ruined. Just finally facing the consequences he should have faced long ago." A hard conversation. She sank onto the sofa, looking lost. "I'm scared he's going to break," she whispered. "He called me crying. He said he doesn't know who he is anymore." I folded my arms. "I'm sorry he's hurting. But he hurt us too. 4 years. Grace nodded, swallowing her shame. "I know. And I'm not here to defend him. I'm here to ask if you two might consider speaking to him. Not to fix things. Not to take him back. Just to help him see his daughter. He hasn't seen her since the fallout." Mia looked at me, half hopeful, half terrified. "He should apologize," she said softly. "Properly. And honestly." Grace nodded. "He will. He's ready." I didn't know if I believed that. But I believed that Mia deserved closure. She deserved answers. And maybe, just maybe, Chris needed to face the truth not from the world but from the people he had wronged the most. So we agreed. The meeting. Chris arrived 2 days later. He looked like a ghost. Unshaven, hollow-eyed, shoulders slumped. Fame had left him. Ego had abandoned him. What remained was a man stripped bare of excuses. When he spotted Mia, his breath broke. When he faced me, his voice trembled. "I'm sorry." 2 words, but heavy enough to shake the room. "I'm sorry for everything," he whispered. "I cheated because I was selfish, immature, stupid. I took your loyalty for granted. I took our family for granted. I thought I deserved more. I thought I could get away with anything." He wiped his eyes. "I ruined everything good in my life." Mia approached him slowly. "I'm angry," she said, voice small but brave. "But I still want a dad. Not a perfect one. Just an honest one." Chris broke completely. He knelt before her. "I want to be that dad. I will be that dad. If you let me." She hugged him. And for the first time in a very long time, exhaled. A new beginning. Not a reunion but a rewrite. "Chris and I didn't get back together. Some things break in ways that cannot be glued back. Some betrayals leave cracks that become part of the structure forever. But we built something else. Something healthier, calmer, stronger. Parenting partnership." Mia spent weekends with him. I regained my peace. Grace reset her boundaries. Chris joined therapy and accountability groups. And slowly, the world stopped defining Mia by what she shouted on that stage. Instead, they began to admire her boldness, her talent, her courage. Because she wasn't a snooze. She wasn't a shadow. She wasn't a reflection of her father's mistake. She was her own force of nature. And I, her mother, finally realized that healing doesn't always come from revenge or closure. Sometimes it comes from honesty. And sometimes from letting the truth echo until everyone finally hears it.